Hello and welcome. I'm Sarah Warren, founder of Oasis Center for Wellbeing, where we think in terms of wellness broadly defined. Today's topic is a little bit more typical of what we think of as wellness, but we have a pretty broad reach in terms of how we think about supporting people's well-being. I've been working on sleep for, I would say, a good 15 years out of my 30 years in practice. It's something that is so essential to our physical and mental well-being that it's really integral to the therapy work that we do in our sister practice, ARC Professional Group. So why is sleep so important? Sleep affects everything, literally. Growing body of research, new research coming out all of the time out of very reputable research institutions. It affects our heart health and every other aspect of our physical health. Long term, it affects our cognitive functioning. There's research on children's ability to learn, and it has been determined that every 15 minutes counts. 15 minutes. So if children are deprived of 15 minutes of sleep, they are less able to learn the next day. That's an example in terms of our kids. We as adults are not exempt. So most of us have probably experienced things in our day-to-day lives, particularly in our work lives, if we're trying to solve problems and we're sleep deprived. But that would be an immediate effect. Long-term, there's brand new research that has come out that associates sleep deprivation in midlife with development of dementia in later life. So major cognitive effects, short-term and long-term. It affects our mood. It affects our general sense of mental well-being. It affects our judgment and our work performance. You may remember that there was a pretty serious bus crash in New York early 2021, and sleep deprivation has been one of the hypotheses about why that bus accident might have happened, that the driver might have been sleep deprived. Every cell in our body is impacted by sleep. Every cell in our body has basically a sleep-wake cycle. Every cell in our body has a function. This is research out of University of Chicago. So when we say that sleep affects everything, it literally does affect everything. At the same time, we live in a time and in a society where our sleep is threatened. Some of those are threats from factors that are hard for us to control, and some are things that we can do something about. Basically, the human body is designed to sleep when the sun goes down. That's just how we're built. We have this complicating factor called electricity. So we developed sleep problems when electricity came into our world. So we don't sleep when the sun goes down, right? We disregard the fact that the sun has gone down. And there might be internal cues telling us that maybe we might be up for going to sleep in some way. We don't pay attention to those. Then we have, thanks to electricity, TVs, often in our bedrooms, devices, numerous devices. The number of devices in our lives is propagating like bunnies, right? And furthermore, we have an always-on orientation towards our devices. So the people who sell us those devices want them to always be on. Our society has morphed to the point where there's sort of a cultural attitude of like, we should always be responsive, available, no matter what time of day or night it is. And then we as individuals have bought into that idea that we should always be on and always have our devices with us. I have talked to people who sleep with multiple devices in their beds every night. I have a 16-year-old who I would say routinely sleeps with 1 to 2 devices in his bed. So we as individuals participate in this culture. So there is this culture at large. We may have workplaces that expect us to be available at all times, but we also as individuals are making decisions about whether or not we kind of buy into and live into an always-on culture. So we're going to get to what we can do about our individual choices. But in terms of further threats, at this point in our society, we have little or no boundaries between work and home, and therefore almost no boundaries between work and sleep. That's a big challenge. That means that our brains are sort of constantly in a mode of feeling like not only do we need to be alert, but we need to be sort of thinking, problem solving, anticipating, planning, all those kinds of things. That was true pre-pandemic. The pandemic only made it worse, and there's very reasonable expectation that the work from home culture, either some hybrid or a kind of pure work from home model for some people, is going to remain with us. So probably we are going to continue to be challenged in terms of the problem of there not being anything close to any kind of boundary between work and home. And for many of us, work has come into our bedrooms, not only just by virtue of laptops that maybe ended up on the bed before, or iPads or whatever, but sometimes the bedroom has become a workspace. You know, you might have a desk or some other kind of, arrangement set up in your bedroom. That is a threat to sleep. In general, as a society, we have a lot to juggle. We have a lot on our minds. And the pandemic increased the sources of stress, anxiety, and worry. A lot of uncertainty, a lot of change, waxing and waning, lockdowns and opening up. That's an ongoing process. It's possible that we'll be in some period of readjustment for even a couple of years. So, what can we do to reclaim our sleep, to protect our sleep from these threats? First and foremost, we need to keep busyness out of our bedrooms. So what does that look like? No work at all, ever, if possible, in your bedroom. That could be aspirational, but if you can't keep work out of your bedroom at all times, then limiting the intrusion, and I'm going to call it an intrusion, of work into your bedroom. Setting time boundaries. You can move your laptop out, right, to another room. You can charge it overnight in another room. Decluttering, if you've got work-related stuff in your bedroom, to kind of like organize it so that you're not looking at sort of unfinished business on the other side of your bedroom. Really big issue in terms of our sleep that does not get talked about, in my view, enough. Keeping all blue lights out of the room or off. Now, what I mean by blue lights is the little green lights, white lights, anything that is not red or maybe orange, okay? So our brains respond to anything other than red or orange light as a signal, no matter how tiny it is. So that tiny little dot on your laptop or any other device on the TV, whatever devices we all have, those your brain is exquisitely sensitive to and reads as a signal to wake up. So your brain is competing with those signals even when your eyes are shut. It means pulling the curtains, it means having dark curtains, it means not having a door ajar where light might be coming down the hallway. It also means, and I practice this, not turning on the bathroom light in the middle of the night when you go to bed. If you have little kids, if you need to have a night light, a red night light will not wake your kids up. We see this in zoos. The people who take care of the mammals in zoos understand that red lights do not wake up the mammalian brain. So this is huge, and again, I think not widely understood. Devices, I am in favor of there being no TV in the bedroom. I realize that's un-American, but obviously we have other ways of getting TV, like our laptops and iPads. I am in favor of no TV from any source in the bedroom. Same thing with devices. The only reason to have your phone near your bed is not to charge it, because you can charge it anywhere. To use it as an alarm, but there are other ways you can do alarms, right? You can have, like, you know, some kind of clock radio thing, right? That you can use as an alarm. They still make those. Or to use an app to help you sleep, okay? Come back to apps. There are things that we can do in the middle of the night if we're having trouble sleeping. A really great one, and I learned this from a sleep expert, counting backwards from 100. It's impossible to do, and it really helps fall asleep. There's something called box breathing, which is you count to 4 on your in-breath, you hold for 4 at the top, you count to 4 on the out-breath, and you hold for 4 when you've emptied your lungs. It's called box breathing. Very common. There are lots of apps out there. I don't pretend to be familiar with all of them, and different things work for different people. My favorite app is Insight Timer. It is a really, really rich resource, which has all kinds of meditations on there. There's one they have on there that is specifically, it's from a tradition called Yoga Nidra, which has nothing to do with the poses that we think of as yoga. Nidra really means sleep or relaxation. And it's designed to help people fall back asleep in the middle of the night. There are music resources on there. There are bedtime stories. Insight Timer is, I think, an amazing resource. Calm is another big one. There are lots of others. I'm not saying those are the only ones, but using an app can be helpful. If you feel like you really need to take something, melatonin can be helpful. You don't need to take more than 3. Melatonin is the natural hormone that your body emits when it gets dark that tells your body that it's time to wind down and go to sleep. You want to take it like half an hour before sleep. Magnesium, up to 800 milligrams, helps quiet the nervous system. It is not sedating in the moment. It's something you need to take regularly in order for it to have that effect on your nervous system. Medications. medications have their place. I don't think they're the place to start. What you really want to avoid is benzodiazepines, because they can be habit-forming, addictive. Trazodone is generally considered to be safe and effective. That's a prescription medication. There may be times when you want to see a professional. You may want to get a consultation with a sleep specialist. Sometimes they'll do a sleep study. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to go to a lab and have electrodes attached to you. You can do it at home, often, not always. And it's really simple, just wear this little thing that's like the size of an iPhone, and it records your sleep patterns, and you learn stuff, perhaps about what's going on at night that you have no awareness of. And maybe you have something like sleep apnea and you didn't know it. Therapy can also be helpful, particularly if you're dealing with anxiety or depression. And, it may be that those underlying conditions are something that you could really benefit from talking to somebody about. And there are lots of therapists out there who help people with those kinds of underlying factors which can interfere with sleep. And we, in our sister practice, our professional group, can help you with that too, if you're interested in even just getting a consultation with a mental health professional. So I hope that you learned some helpful things about how to protect your sleep. Thanks.